Echoes of the Forgotten. I'm beginning to think I've stumbled onto something I was never meant to discover. I'll try to explain, but I'm not even sure how to make sense of it myself. I'm Ethan, a 30-year-old doctor. Nothing extraordinary about me, really. My path was always clear, a steady course I set for myself from a young age. But even with my focus on medicine, I've always had other interests, the kind that pulled me into unexpected places. Ryan, a close friend and fellow explorer, and I shared a passion for venturing into abandoned, forgotten spaces, ruined factories, long-forgotten structures, places the world left behind. We were so captivated by this pursuit that, in August, we decided to document our trips. The goal was to start a YouTube channel, sharing our explorations with others. Everything was lined up to launch, except for one last adventure we decided to take before we went live. This one felt different from all the others. Something about it was off. I'm not much of a tech guy, but Ryan, being a cybersecurity expert, handled all the technical details. One night, we were at his apartment, surrounded by an absurdly complex setup of computers and screens, a setup that could easily be mistaken for something straight out of a hacker movie. Ryan was browsing a deep web forum. I'm not entirely sure it's the dark web, but it's that hidden corner of the internet that requires special software to access, something he does often, says it's a good place to stay ahead of the curve in his field. This time, though, he found something strange. He stumbled upon a forum dedicated to extreme urban explorers, people who scour the earth searching for abandoned places far off the beaten path. At first, I didn't think much of it, but something about the forum seemed wrong. It wasn't accessible from the regular internet. Why would an open forum for urban exploration be hidden away like that? That didn't sit right with me, but I said nothing. I was distracted, scrolling on my phone when Ryan, looking far too intrigued, turned to me. "Check your spam folder," he said. I hadn't mentioned my spam folder to him, so I was a little thrown off. But Ryan was a tech guy, I didn't question him. I opened my spam inbox. There, waiting for me, was a strange forwarded email. The address was a jumbled string of random numbers and letters, untraceable. The body of the email contained nothing but a set of coordinates and a hyperlink. Clicking on it, I found myself staring at a Dropbox file, one Ryan had evidently set up for us. Inside was a PDF. 3 pages. The first had the same coordinates typed at the top, paired with a blurry satellite image of what seemed like a desolate rocky coastline. Beneath it, there was a thermal version of the same image, marked with a date from the year 2025. But it wasn't the image that grabbed my attention, it was the 6 red dots, arranged in 2 groups of 3, aligned with buildings that seemed to rise from the cliffside. I couldn't make out the details clearly, but the place was undeniably strange. "What is this?" I asked, still unsure what I was looking at. Ryan scanned the page and frowned. "I don't know. But the metadata on these images is untouched. These aren't photoshopped. I've checked." The remaining pages contained more images, disturbing, hauntingly unclear photos of structures. There was one, though, that felt wrong in a way I can't explain. It was a shot from down the barrel of a rifle, the view distorted by night vision, aimed at an old wooden door. 3 figures stood next to it, dressed in tactical gear, their silhouettes sharp against the background of a dilapidated stone building. This wasn't a movie set, it felt real. Too real. Ryan sat back in his chair, his eyes intense. "This account popped up about 3 weeks ago. It posted these images, and at first, no one thought much of it. Most people dismissed it as some prank. But then, I got a private message from the original poster. They sent me the same coordinates. Nothing else, just those numbers. I tried to reply, but the account was already gone. Deactivated. I blinked, still processing. And I dug around. Couldn't find anything about these coordinates. They don't appear on any public map. The closest thing I found was a reference to building permits from World War I near New Zealand, but there's nothing about the land itself. This is 25 miles offshore, Ethan. In the middle of the ocean. There's something there, and I'm going to find out what it is. I sat in stunned silence, my mind racing. Part of me was skeptical, the logical side of me screaming that it was probably nothing. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was no going back. It had already started. Okay, I finally said, feeling the unease crawl under my skin. Let's go. Good, Ryan replied, grinning like someone who just found an uncharted path. Our flight leaves in a few hours. I won't bore you with the details of our flight, but after settling in at a small hotel near the coast, we decided to visit the local fishing wharf. We hoped the locals might know something about the strange geography surrounding the coordinates. The wharf was old, almost forgotten, and the few fishermen lingering there looked like they hadn't seen a decent catch in years. We approached one fisherman, an elderly man named Andy, and asked about any unusual activity in the area. At first, Andy shrugged us off, muttering about seeing the same faces every day. But when Ryan showed him the coordinates, his eyes hardened. He took a long look at the numbers and then met our gazes. "I'll take you there," he said quietly. "But no longer than an hour. You understand?" "Wait," I said, confused. "You know what's out there?" Andy nodded slowly. "An old lighthouse. That's all." He paused, his expression darkening. "But you don't want to be out there. If you do go, don't linger. Meet me here at midnight." And just like that, he turned away, leaving us with more questions than answers. We went back to the hotel, packed our gear, and tried to ignore the gnawing unease. As midnight approached, we made our way to the wharf and boarded Andy's small boat. The ride was cold, silent, and uneventful, until, in the distance, we saw it. The lighthouse, looming like a forgotten sentinel against the dark horizon. The closer we got, the more I realized how eerie it was, the way it seemed to exist outside of time. We landed on a rotting dock, barely held together by rusted nails and warped wood. Andy handed us a timer. "Devices won't work out there," he muttered. "You've got 1 hour." We ascended the cliffside, our flashlights casting long shadows against the crumbling stone staircase. At the top stood the lighthouse, a once proud structure now fading into ruin. The door was ajar. As we pushed it open, the smell of decay hit us. Inside, the space was hollow and forgotten, old tools, broken radio equipment, dust everywhere. But it wasn't the lighthouse that pulled us deeper. It was the strange path leading inland, tangled with overgrown vines and brambles. At the end of the path, we found a small cement building, almost resembling an old war bunker. The door was covered in strange symbols and cryptic writing. One phrase stood out: "Stay away from the light." My stomach tightened. Just as I backed away from the door, I tripped over something cold and metallic. A broken gun. It was the same model from the images we had seen. The very same. Ryan and I exchanged a glance, neither of us saying anything, but both of us realizing that this was far bigger than we had anticipated. Inside the building, the unsettling truth became clear. A body, slumped over a desk, dressed in a lab coat, a bullet hole in the back of his head. It wasn't old. The man had died recently. And then we found it. A small ammo crate hidden under the desk, containing more than just bullets. Wrapped in old paper, tied with rope, was something far darker. We didn't open it then, there wasn't time. The timer was ticking down. We made our way back to the dock, barely making it in time for Andy to take us back to the mainland. As we departed, he muttered, "Hope you didn't find what you were looking for." His words hung in the air as we returned to the hotel. That night, we opened the package. What we found, though, I can't even begin to explain. The footage from our cameras was corrupted, gone, lost. We had no evidence, only the strange contents of the package. And now, I'm left with this account, unsure of what to do with it all. I've uploaded everything, the images, the scans, the notes. I'm not sure if I'll post more. I don't know what's next, but something tells me this is only the beginning.